Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crabb, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 4 minutes after the hour on this beautiful Tuesday, the 20th day of January in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and we have a wonderful show for you today. Tamara Scott, who is the Republican National Committee chairwoman for the state of Iowa, has brought in an honorable woman that I cannot wait to get time with to talk to, Alveda King, who is Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece, is spending a few days here in Des Moines. Maybe you've seen some of the things on Facebook or on the news last night about her appearances. North High School, she is going and talking there. She's had a get-together this morning, a breakfast. Just a wonderful time. And so we look forward to talking with her. They are currently en route from Drake University, and will be here shortly. So we will pick up that interview when we get an opportunity to. 244-0077 is the phone number to call if you would like to ask questions or talk to either one of these fine young ladies. We'd be glad to have you come in. Ryan will be taking the phone calls, and you can do that. And here comes Tamara. Now, just run in front of my camera, Tamara. It's okay. Nobody. Oh, my gosh. All right. Have a seat. Alveda, nice to meet you. Oh, Amy.
Amy is here. Alveda is doing an interview right now online, and then as soon as she's done, she's stepping right around the corner.
Okay.
You want me to step right over there?
Yeah. Alveda will sit there. And now, who are you, young lady?
Amy Griffin with the Transformations Group in
Okay.
Greater Des Moines.
Okay. Nice to have you here.
Somebody you should know.
I'm partnering with...
Here, you need to talk. I'm sorry.
Oh,
We weren't prepared for this. There we go.
That's all right. Amy Griffin from the Transformations Group, partnering with Concerned Women for America and other pastoral alliances in the Des Moines greater area.
Well, it's nice to have you here.
It's great to be here.
And we should have you on.
you should have her sing, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
She bailed me out twice today, yeah.
She what you do?
She bailed me out because I started Happy Birthday twice, and I didn't want to sing once I got in front of people.
And so she took it over?
Oh, golly.
Well, I think I may know how we're going to end this program today. If by chance you were to get the opportunity to sing at the end.
She and Alveda both are great singers.
What would you like to sing? What would make you extremely comfortable?
I think whatever she wants
Whatever
to sing,
she
I
wants?
would join with her.
All right, we can hear you now better. Tell us your name again.
Amy Griffin,
Amy Griffin, and you're with?
the Transformations Group.
And that is a local group.
Yes, it's Des Moines proper area.
Okay. All right, well, it's a pleasure to have you, young lady. I appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you, Mike.
She's a radio pro. She'll get that microphone set up
I may or I
for
may
you.
not. Ryan
Here.
usually has to come fix me.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'll tighten that, baby. Oh, isn't this
As I crash the other one.
All right, we're
There
good.
we go.
Perfect. All right, well, sorry about that.
So
You
is the
folks
does the
listening
camera have it?
on the radio, yeah, that's your camera right there.
Okay.
And so
She had no idea she was walking into this. Welcome to Life with Me.
That's
Yeah,
fine. I
welcome
like
to-
doing life with you.
Yeah, there you go. So tell me a little about Transformations.
The Transformation Group is a group that's led by Al Perez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. A great man of God, brother, cares about the community.
Yeah.
He's now a chaplain with the Des Moines Police Department. He's on the Latino Forum. So really involved in the community. And I'm his right-hand, quote, man.
Okay, but you're a woman.
Yes, all woman.
All
and
woman.
proud of it.
That I'm holy.
Hear me
Hallelujah.
roar.
But,
So-
behind every great man stands a greater woman.
Well, you said it, not me.
Well, it's true. When I have been successful in my life in business, it's because I've had an exceptional exceptional. And I stopped calling him the secretary word probably 30 years ago because they made it happen.
Our joke is that I'm his chief advisor.
There you go. And you probably are. Yeah, I like Al Perez. He's a nice guy.
I'm having Jenny join us too until Alveda's off the phone.
All right, and who's Jenny?
This is Jenny Caligieri. Jenny is the state director for the governor's prayer caucus and the congressional prayer caucus. She headed up the 714 the state day of prayer last year.
Okay.
And she'll be doing it again this year.
Hi, young lady. How are you?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to have you here. You know how to just step right in front of that microphone.
You bet.
You bet. And you're Jenny?
Ginny.
Ginny.
Like Virginia, Ginny.
Oh, Ginn. Okay, I didn't get that right. Ginn.
That's okay.
Caligieri. I know how to pronounce that name.
You did well.
Yeah, I worked with somebody. And you're with the prayer caucus, so you got to be pretty happy between yesterday and today.
I am elated.
And the ball on Saturday night.
Yes, exactly. The governor's
been a busy.
It's been busy.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So tell me what you do.
I lead prayer at the Capitol. We have prayer on Tuesdays for legislators and those that want to come and join at noon. And then now it's been expanded this year at the Capitol, so we have prayer from 9 to 10 Monday through Thursday, which is unbelievable because there's no space at the Capitol during session.
Yeah.
So this is an awesome thing.
That was a miracle.
This is a miracle happening. And then we also have the first Thursday where we have the transformation pastors that come to the Capitol to pray. And that's new this year also.
Now, you say come to the Capitol to pray. So it's a Bible study?
No, we're just praying. We're praying to lift up and undergird our legislators. We're praying for our religious freedom. For our Judeo-Christian religious freedoms that we're losing very quickly in this nation, so that we have rights for that. So the legislators really to legislate and write legislation to protect those rights. And then also I bring the state together to pray.
Okay,
for them.
So if I came down from 9 to 10 on a Monday through Thursday and came to your room, what would I find? Paint me the picture.
You would come in and find I have a leader there that is going to lead in prayer, would have topics that we would be praying on that day, and then you could either sit silently or you could pray out loud. So you can feel very comfortable.
Okay.
They make you feel very comfortable.
And some of the legislators come in and pray also?
Yes.
No Democrats, though, probably.
We do
Absolutely.
have some.
Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
this is bipartisan.
Bipartisan.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. We're praying for wisdom and knowledge and revelation to come to our legislators, and that they will stand on biblical foundations.
Now, you said a minute ago, Jenny, that we're quickly losing those rights in America.
Yes.
Do you think we've been losing those for years?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Since when?
Probably since prayer's been taken out of the school, it's been creeping in.
Okay.
So since we've changed our standing for the foundations of our nation.
Yeah.
It was biblically founded, and slowly but surely it's being removed.
And I'm not into politics. I mean, I'm in enough to know who I'm voting for, and I have a lot of nice people come on the show with me, but otherwise I'm not involved with it. Isn't there something in the Constitution? You got to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Right.
Isn't there something in the Constitution which says we have the right to do that?
Yes, there is. Amendment 1. Yes,
So
we do
then
have the right.
Then why are we losing it? Why can't my 16-year-old grandson lead a prayer in his community school, his public school?
Because we are not following the Constitution for one thing, and there have been amendments made to it. So they're not. We have a lot of. Well, I'd say, but even our president isn't even following the Constitution.
Yeah, no kidding.
So therefore, it's trickled down, and we just don't have those rights anymore. They have made, I don't know if you call it amendment, but they have made amendments basically where they've taken prayer out of the school. They say you cannot do that. You can't even now have silent prayer in the school, which I don't even know what that means, because if it's silent, who knows if you're praying or not. But so there's pastors that won't do things. I don't want to maybe get into that subject, but there are things that pastors won't do and that businesses won't do, and they are then being incriminated, being sued and fined and thrown in jail. So they're shutting down businesses. And
when are we? Because I'll put myself in that bunch. When do we need to stand up? What's going to have to happen for the average Joe like me to say, whoa, you got to be kidding me? No, we're done. We're going to pray in school. We're going to bring God back. You're going to stop doing this to us.
I believe the church has got to stand back up.
Okay.
The church has to take its place. And what's happened is the church is no longer raising up leaders to change to help hold the Constitution. And when we don't have biblical people with biblical standards ruling our country or writing legislation, then this is what we get. So we do need the church. There's a big fallacy about separation of church and state. And that's not a truth. What it is the church is to be influencing the government not influencing the people. So we need the church to stand up again and to begin to raise up leaders that are going to run for office and legislate for us.
Jenny Caligieri, she is the prayer caucus under the Governor Branstad administration. Now, Amy, I want to go to you for a second.
Yes.
You work with pastors.
Yes, I do. We work with connecting with pastors across interdenominational lines, interracial lines, and bringing unity. Our main goal for 2015 is to really end hunger in our public schools. We're finding that we have kids that are homeless in the public schools, and also our students are lacking in food from elementary all the way up through high school. We've actually worked together as a transformation group to start places where they can get foods at school.
All right, now, and I think that's great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's great. But what about what Jenny said? When do you see your group? Now, let me ask the question. Maybe this isn't your wheelhouse. Maybe this isn't something transformations would do. But what Jenny says is we have to get the pastors together to speak from the pulpit. You deal with pastors. Would that be a road you could go down, or is that off limits?
What I would say is if it falls in line with our heart to build unity in the community and bringing change, that yes, it's something that we need to do. And change will come through the mouthpiece of our pastors and our churches, like she said.
Yeah.
And I believe the more we work together, we can bring that change. But it first starts with repenting for our trying to do it our own way and serving the schools. That's why we have great, like in the schools right now, we are serving to try to bring change there. There is a student law book that if kids want to pray in school, if they want to start a small group, they can. There are student legal books for them that they can look into that and do something for themselves.
Well, that's awesome that transformations would do that. So it sounds like
And
we're
here's what
trying
they're
to work
doing.
together.
You asked Jenny about separation of church and state, which it's not in the Constitution.
Right.
We know it's been a mistranslation of a bill that now we hear Johnson didn't even mean to really harm churches. He meant to harm a 501c corporation, but not necessarily C3 churches. But there is a separation of church and state in the Bible. God tells government is only supposed to uphold the good and punish the bad.
Yeah.
All the other belongs to the church.
Romans 13.
The private Christian, not the citizen, not through your taxes, but through your tithe. What Transformations is doing is bringing that back. They are putting the church back, restoring the church to what it's called to do by God through service, hands-on, across ethnic lines, across social barriers, financial statuses. They are regrouping and reuniting people to be what God called the church to be, so the government can go back to being what the government is supposed to be and not more.
One of my grandsons asked me, we were on a road trip together, and he asked me why the government was doing all this to hurt the churches and hurt prayer in school. And I said, and tell me if you agree with this or how much of this you agree with. I said, Luke, they want to control you.
Absolutely.
And so if they can push the churches out, because the churches will do it for free.
Yeah.
You know, we used to have Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, and we have Awana, and we had all these things. But all of a sudden now you're eliminating, that's being eliminated from the government schools because the government wants to run your life and tell you what to do.
Well, and see, by doing so, government becomes your God.
Yeah.
Not God, government. You lean on government, you depend on government, and that's the real tragedy.
That's the voice of Tamara Scott, Republican National Committee Chairwoman for the state of Iowa. We've been listening to Amy Griffin from the Transformations Group and also Jenny Caligieri with Branstad's Prayer Caucus. When we come back from this break, the lovely Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., and I can't wait to talk to her. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We're coming back live. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth, 99.3, powered by webcast1live.com. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. Oh, hi, 21 after the hour. Here we are live on 99.3 KTIA, Max World Live on the radio this afternoon. Blessed to have Tamara Scott, State Director of the Concerned Woman for America of Iowa. Also, Jenny Caligieri from the Prayer Caucus, Amy Griffin from the Transformations Group, and I now welcome Alveda King, who is the niece of the man that changed everything, Martin Luther King Jr. I want to tell you a story, and I rehearsed this, so I think I'll get it right. And I checked with my mom to make sure I had this right. I grew up in a small southeastern town in Nebraska, farming community, and we had two black people there. They were brothers. They were unmarried. They had no children. One ran the municipality, and the other guy was the shoeshine guy. And those guys were in our house for dinner probably, 10 times a year. And because my mother was a wonderful cook, and she loved to have her shoe shined. And so they were over there all the time. And so that's just the way it was. And one day I'm sitting with the grandmother that I didn't like, someone who was a bigot and a racist and an alcoholic and just all those things. And we're watching your uncle on TV. And she's saying these horrible things and how he's going to change everything, but not for the good. And I knew right then and there that everything she was saying was wrong, because everything that came out of her mouth was wrong. She was that kind of woman. So I went to the grandmother I liked, who was a good Mennonite woman, and she praised your uncle up and side and down the other for being the type of man. And I remember Grandma saying he will change everything, but he'll change it for the good. So it was so and that was one of the first times I realized that Grandma Pinner was wrong a lot. And I should count on the Mennonite Grandma Henderson. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
Wow, fascinating. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. What are your memories of him? You look like a younger woman, so you must have been just a child.
when it started, I was, but I grew up and I was married the year after my uncle M.L. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed. My dad, his brother A.D. King, was killed the following year, right at the week after I was married. But I did want to say this before I really give you that memory. I was listening to your story. It's amazing how, as kids, as we were growing up in our generation, we got to sit around and hear the adults discuss the issues in the state of the nation. That's something that the generations today are missing out on because families do not sit together or down to dinner and things like that. So you don't get enough of these conversations nowadays for young people to really understand what's going on. And my fondest memories of Martin Luther King Jr., I talk about some of them actually in my book, King Rules. And on the cover, you see my granddaddy, Daddy King, and my dad to his right, and my uncle M.L. to his left, A.D. and M.L. King. They were brothers.
So this is your dad?
That's granddaddy.
Okay, that's granddad. And this is your dad.
That's my dad.
I'm looking at the cover of the book for those of you on the webcast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So they were brothers. They were very close brothers. And they marched together, preached together, lived together, died months apart together. But one of the stories, I think I talk about that in the book. I hope I do. Daddy said that when they were young, they were so close that they said they would marry women who looked alike, so their children would look alike.
Oh.
So Coretta King and my mother, same height, same body type, same kind of hair. There are some pictures where they actually look like they are sisters, even though they were not biological sisters. Aunt Coretta was born in Marion, Alabama. My mom, Naomi, was born in Dothan, Alabama. And so that's one little point that people don't get. We know about the civil rights work. Also, Martin and A.D. were known as the Sons of Thunder, James and John in the Bible.
I knew that.
And as the Sons of Thunder, they could preach. And when they were little, they would emulate their dad. Their dad would preach his sermons in practice, and the boys would peep around the corner, and then they would have hooping contest.
Hooping?
Hooping like, well, and yes, and say amen. And so to see who could out-hoop the other, one day their dad heard them doing that, and he said to his wife, are they making fun of me? She says, no, they admire you, and they want to be able to preach the way you do. And one other little story, one other truth, it's not a story, an anecdote, they really did eat dinner together, and when Daddy King was in town, the family could not have dinner till he got home. If he had to do a counseling or a revival session or something like that, they kept dinner under the warmer. One thing he required was that they do Bible verses before the prayer. And so Daddy and Uncle Emil liked to pick up Jesus Wept because it was the shortest verse in the Bible.
Yeah, right.
But it would turn into this, well, where did he weep? Why did he weep? What was happening when he wept? So they went ahead and then began to learn longer Bible verses. And we feel as though that's why they were pretty good Bible preachers, because they learned the Bible from their daddy.
Alveda King is my guest. She is the niece of Martin Luther King Jr., just one of the greatest guys ever. I mean, I think he should be put on Mount Rushmore.
Thank you.
I really do. He changed everything.
Thank you.
And I see it in my kids. I still have a generation of racists hanging around me sometimes, but I see it in my kids where there's no color. Unfortunately, there's no gender either. I think that kind of comes with the package, but I think as the hound of heaven, bites these kids when they get sensible at 40 or whatever, then the gender thing will become important, and what the Bible says about that will go. But I had a friend of mine the other day make this statement to me, and I disagree with it, but I really want your comment on it, that the only time he ever sees racism is from black people. And he's a white guy, obviously.
Okay. Well, I met a man recently who said something similar, not quite the same. I've never met anyone who was racist. And I said, wow, do you ever go out of your house, sir?
Yeah.
That was my question. And, of course, people don't just say, I'm racist. So you may or may not experience that within your own peer groups or your own communities. And so if you stay kind of within your community and only people who you see look like you won't see any occasion for these expressions to come. But racism is not limited to a skin color. And that's the thing that we forget, because people can be black and be racist. Idi Amin, who was a terrible dictator king who did horrible things to his own people, and all the people were the same color as he was.
But he was a racist.
Yeah, so it's not limited to skin color.
Okay.
And so that's the problem. But I've had people, Caucasian folks, shake my hand and then drop their hand to their side and wipe their hand off on their skirt or their slacks. I really have.
Today in
this century. It has happened in the 21st century.
Tell me it didn't happen in Des Moines.
It did not happen in Des Moines.
Good.
I don't see that. I don't get those experiences here. But racism actually does exist. But the way that my daddy loved Acts 17:26, of one blood God made all people. If we're one blood, we're brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so we don't need to have these deceptive race battles.
You grew up with this. Obviously, it took your father and it took your uncle, and now you've set your life's course in, honoring God, following Jesus, and serving other people.
Yes.
When is one of my descendants going to look at racism like we look at horses and buggies? Well, yes, they existed, but that was so long ago.
This is happening more and more. As a matter of fact, when I tell people, in there again, in King Book rules, there's a family tree. And we can go back 7 generations. Martin Luther King Sr., that's Daddy King, his father's father was Nathan Branham King from Cork, Ireland. Mama King's grandfather was Willis Williams, a slave preacher. My mama's people were Cherokee. Her dad was, Square Reese was half Cherokee. So then I asked people, what race am I? If I can show you, I went to Ireland twice and traced the bloodline, because I would cry when I was born because my skin was so fair. It was even more fair now. And my grandfather, who rescued me from abortion in 1950, he said to my mother, you can't abort that baby. She is a little girl with bright skin and bright red hair. I saw her in a dream 3 years ago. So when you hear me say I have a dream, I'm not talking about Martin Luther King.
Yeah, right.
Daddy King had a dream. So when I was born, until my sister was born, she had fair skin too, my brothers would say, where did you come from? Where did they get you? You're so pale. You don't look like us. And I would cry. And I would say, why can't I be brown like everybody else? And my Aunt Woody said, because some of our people come from Ireland.
Okay.
And so part Irish, part African, part Native American. So I ask people, what race am I? So when we wake up and we understand that we've been sold a lie, that we're separate races, then it can go away with the horse and buggy days.
That's a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think some of it started when government and those organizations started asking us to define whether we were Caucasian, whether we were what our race was? I wish that we didn't have to pin ourselves down into
To
those
that, I
groups.
write human on those census studies because Dred Scott, a slave, was told that he was 3/5 human. And so we came forth, and it started there, and then on the census reports breaking us down by ethnic distinctions. And so I just write human. When it says race, I say human.
Just one more time that the government's
Yeah.
caused division.
Social Security numbers are like that too. Blacks had a certain block, and you could tell what ethnicity somebody is by the block of numbers on the Social Security.
Matt, can I tell you when I met her?
Yeah.
I had gone.
This is Tamara Scott, by the way, and she is the state director of the Concerned Women for America of Iowa.
I had gone to Memphis, Tennessee with a group, and we were walking through that. We were going to go to the Civil Rights Museum. What I failed to realize was that the Civil Rights Museum was the motel where Martin Luther King was shot.
Oh, wow.
So I'm walking, you're in a group, but I had just happened to be off by myself, and I walked around the corner of the building, and when I saw the front of the motel, the balcony, the two cars from the 50s or 60s, I knew exactly. I had walked into that photo we saw so many times on the news.
Yeah.
I knew exactly. And it just startled me. And I realized, well, I suppose it startled the nation as well when they heard the news, right? So I walked forward, and then there's a shot line going across, and you see all the way through the cement over to this open window where the shot came. And I just, I was taken back. And so I
Yeah.
walk in, and then I meet Dr. Alveda King. And my first thought was, I hope this political group, it was with the Republican Party, I hope they're not going to exploit her. Well, she, being a follower of God and listening closely to the Holy Spirit, doesn't get controlled by anybody but God. She had that whole group singing Amazing Grace. She had politicians and elected officials from across the nation singing Amazing Grace.
Yeah, I hear I'm going to get a song out of the two of you before the end of the show.
You might. It may happen with both of us or either one of us.
That'd be whooping, right?
But I want to say, I don't know, Tamara, were you in the group that when we went up into that corridor and look at the rooms, I don't know if people ever notice this, but anytime I'm in any of those museum settings, I actually can't stay in them very long.
You moved
because I
from-
kind of move through
Yep,
it
you moved
very
through.
quickly because I can't. Some of the movies I can't even see because they take me back to those places, and it's just too difficult because I lived in a home that was bombed. My dad's church was bombed in Kentucky. Our home, that's A.D. and Naomi's home, was bombed in Birmingham. So we had bombings in Birmingham, bombings in Louisville. My dad was choked and thrown in a swimming pool with no water in his lungs the year after his brother was shot. So my grandmother was shot in the church playing the organ. And so I don't have bitterness nor hatred, but I can't stay there too long.
I mean, it still hurts. It still hurts.
It really does.
But
It
but
actually
that's
does.
what cut me, Mac, was that there was no entitlement. There was no, your people did this. There was no anger. She had total freedom and forgiveness. And that's what really drew me to her. And we started talking, and we were able to bring her back then for an event last August. And I feel like we've become kindred spirits in the meantime. And but she has a message for today. Because when you see a lot of kids trying to create stir where there is none, she brings peace.
That's Tamara Scott, the state director for the Concerned Women for America of Iowa. And Alveda King is our special guest today. She's the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. and the daughter of A.D. King, right? Got to put that in there. Also, Amy Griffin from the Transformation Group is here. When we come back, we'll have Tamara talk to Alveda about what she's here for and what she hopes to accomplish. And I think we're going to get a little song at the end.
All right.
Right here, live
Amy, I'm
on
gonna
The
let you
Truth.
do that one.
99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid,
I am Bernie Hobbs,
and I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church with True Blue. Honored today to have some wonderful women in this studio, including Tamara Scott, who is the state director of the Concerned Women for America of Iowa. Amy Griffin, who is head of the Transformations Group, along with Al Perez here in Des Moines, and Alveda King, the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. and daughter of A.D. King, and her book, King Rules, 10 Truths for You, Your Family, and Our Nation to Prosper. And Tamara, I'm going to let you have some conversation with Alveda today, because I know you're passionate about what your goal is this week.
Thank you, Mac. Well, when I met her and saw her walk through that Civil Rights Museum, and her heart was a heart of love, was a heart of compassion, and helping everyone else understand how we need to have love for our neighbor, not hardship, not hate. And so we connected, and I wanted to bring her in to pray for the legislature before we started. Her schedule was already full. She's had a very busy week last week. But she offered, Mac, to come on Martin Luther King Day. I would have never even thought to ask her on Martin Luther King Day. So last night, when we knew she was coming, that's when Al Perez and the Transformations Group became so helpful. These pastors have really come in to make a difference and to find ways in which they're already working in the community to build bridges where barriers might otherwise be. And they're actually being the hands in the service that we're supposed to be in our community. So last night, the Des Moines Public Schools opened their doors to us in a grand way. They welcomed us in, Roosevelt Choir, North Gospel Choir, and the Icicerettes all performed. The choirs, Mac, didn't just do like a traditional hymn. They were singing "Soon and Very Soon We're Gonna Meet the King." We were having revival. Church broke out last night at North High School. It was just tremendous to have that. We had her at Hyatt Middle School today. She spoke to 600 middle school students. Our hope is that she's going to teach them that there is another way, besides what you see as these people who like to come into a community and stir things up. Folks I call rent-a-riot guys who come in and just stir the pot. She comes in and brings peace and a message that's long-lasting and hopeful. That's why we had her come. And she's done a great job. We have
and then
had
the college, when we went out to the college campus today.
We took her to Drake University. Yeah. She spoke to student leaders there.
Yeah.
You know, Alveda, you've got to be in one of the unique positions in the whole country. Okay, I mean, you really are that special. First of all, you're genuine, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You honor God, and you'll hear me say this, but honor God, follow Jesus, and serve others.
Yes.
But you can bring the gospel into our government schools, and it's acceptable.
Right.
Because of who your dad and who your uncle were.
Yes.
I don't think there's too many people that can do that.
Well, when people want to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and you begin to use his quotes, they were all framed out of the Bible. And people try to limit it to the speeches that perhaps did less gospel, but it's not possible to read or hear anything that Martin Luther King Jr. said without having God talked about, and even Jesus, his Lord. And so when I go in, I learned a long time ago, I'll just read Uncle ML's speeches.
yeah, and then you've got everything taken care of.
That is it. So that's how that happens.
What do you think is the what's the pain or the fear that drives so many people to not have a biblical worldview?
Okay.
You know, what Ferguson or those places, you know, what can I do to help that not happen anymore?
One thing that you can do to help it not happen is to do what you're doing and broadcast and put truth out into the airwaves. We call it speaking truth to power, to the powers and authorities that be. But there's a scripture. People make scripture into religion. It just becomes something that you can nicely quote but not necessarily do. And so when we say my people perish for lack of knowledge, some of us do understand that means you just don't have a knowledge of who God is. But in another translation, it says my people are dying because they do not know me. So if we can help people know not only the acts of God, things that God does, but the nature and heart of God. Because when we say no justice, no peace, that means we're going to tear up, burn down, riot until you give us what we want, and then we'll give you peace. But it really should be no peace, no justice. Until we can have peace and sit down and rationally discuss, we're not going to be able to get to agree on and understand justice. Mm-hmm. And so we have to really clearly define the paths. That's the nonviolent conflict resolution of a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I talk about these in that book in the chapter on peace.
Yeah, I was going to say I saw one on work for peace, rule
Yes,
number 8.
yeah,
and rule number 6 is fight for justice.
That's right. How do you do that? And so it's still biblically based through nonviolent conflict resolution. And if you don't do that and seek peace and a win-win situation, as it were, at the end of the whole discussion and conversation, everybody comes out with something that allows them to keep their dignity.
Alveda King is my guest. She is the daughter of A.D. King and the niece of Martin Luther King Jr. Would I be incorrect if I said, I'm going to be a little judgmental here, if I said those people that riot and act the way they do don't have a personal relationship with Jesus? Because they would never, Jesus would never do what they did.
Well, what Tamara said a bit ago, rent a riot.
Yeah.
In other words, pay people to come in and tear up your city. And then you say, well, we'll make them go away if you give us money. That's one model. And that's absolutely terrible. So that particular attitude does not exemplify Christ at all. And so it's the people who love the Lord will peacefully demonstrate, maybe carry signs and pray and sing. There was a tent meeting there in Ferguson that I attended with Jonathan Tremaine Thomas, the Ferguson Response. 21 days, they put up a tent and prayed in Ferguson. And it really did make a big difference.
Never saw that on TV.
You didn't see it on TV. Michael Brown's uncle actually came and prayed in the tent several days. And so you don't see that. And that's when I've had people say to me, let's pray. And they say, well, yeah, but that's not going to make any difference. So I'll say, you really don't know the God we serve. So it is, you can say that people who know Christ, you very likely will not see them out throwing firebombs. It's just not going to happen.
When the Ferguson thing blew up, I talked to my mother, who's a retired Superior Court justice. Good. Liberal woman, gosh darn her. And she said that a lot of this comes from the fact that as late as in the 50s, black men and boys would disappear. They would be arrested for some felonious thing. They would go before the judge and be given a 20-year, $2 million, not really, but something stupid. Yeah. And then a local businessman, quote unquote, would come up and say, I'll pay the fine and he can work it off by working for me. And people's grandfathers and fathers and brothers and sons would just disappear for 2, 3, 4 years.
Oh, my God.
Maybe they'd come back, maybe they wouldn't.
Oh, my God.
And so the African-American community doesn't have a lot of respect, especially the older folks like me, for authority, police authority, because they just see it as corrupt.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, if you think about that corruption, and I want to bring it into this century now, too, marijuana, it has been a crime to have it, to smoke it, to possess it. And African-American males were more highly impacted by those laws. And many went to jail just for having marijuana and smoking it. And now the irony of that is today, now that America is allowing marijuana the smoking of marijuana to become legal, there are judges who could sit at home now and smoke marijuana, depending on where they live. And the men that they had incarcerated can't ever get out of jail. I mean, just see how ironic that is. So the targeting of African Americans through several means. There was something called the Negro Project, when blacks were encouraged to become sterilized, men getting vasectomies and women to get tubal ligation so they could be a credit to their race. The Tuskegee Project, where black men were given syphilis and not treated, to see if syphilis could eliminate the African-American race. And there are just so many experiments and exploitations.
Even Planned Parenthood.
And I was going to say in the pro-life community with Planned Parenthood, all of that targeted to eliminate or minimize a whole community of people in America.
Alveda King is our guest. We'll be back here on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. It's 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News at 4. And then 4:03, Michael Mudloff from Westkirk Presbyterian Church will be here. Coming up on Thursday, the folks from Marriage Matters. We've got a marriage weekend coming up, Valentine's weekend, at a church in Clive, Iowa. We will tell you where, we will tell you who, and most importantly, we'll tell you why. And if you're a guy and you're listening right now, don't you dare touch that button. I will shame you. I will. You can give your wife a gift of going to a marriage seminar for a Friday night and a Saturday morning. You can give her that gift, and you have no idea how much that'll mean to her that you're willing to do that, okay? And if you've got kids or grandkids, or you know some kids that are having their marriage challenged a little bit, by the ways of the world, give them this as a present. Send them to the marriage seminar, and we'll make sure they're taken care of very well. That's coming up. We'll talk about that on Thursday here on The View from a Pew. Alveda King, the daughter of A.D. King, granddaughter of Daddy King, and niece of MLK Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. Tamara Scott, who is chairwoman for the Concerned Women for America of Iowa, state director. And then we have Amy Griffin, Transformations Group here in Des Moines. So we were talking off mic about the song, This Little Light of Mine. And that was a Negro spiritual.
Negro spiritual that was used often in the civil rights movement. And I sing it a lot everywhere I go. And one time years ago when I started doing it, the kids picked up their cell phones and turned on the cell phone light. And we're singing This Little Light about it. They're shining the lights out in the audience. So that happened at Hyatt's school today, and it was so wonderful.
Do you get this type of response all around the country?
I actually get this response because it's light, it's love, it's power, it's forgiveness. And people, I believe, like to hear that.
Is the South more racist than like we are in Iowa or in Washington, D.C. or Portland, Maine?
The South perhaps shows the racism more than other areas, but racism is across the country. Some people are racist, some are not, and it's not limited to skin color. I want to point that out.
Does the Confederate flag offend you?
It doesn't offend me, but I have friends that it still bothers.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just, to me, it's historical. It's part of history.
Yeah.
And so.
All right. We have a special treat for you. And for those of you that listen to the show regularly, there's nothing I enjoy more than a spontaneous outburst of glory and hallelujah. And Tamara gets the credit for this. She told me that Amy Griffin is a tremendous singer and that Alveda is also. So you guys are going to share a little I'm going to shine my light.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, go for it.
Here we go. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, if your light won't shine, please don't put out mine. If your light won't shine, you'll share.
I'll share some of mine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Praise the Lord.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. I love that. We'll add that to our list. We have a lot of people that come on and we ask them to sing, and they do it, and it's so fun.
We almost sound like we're born in the same family. Our voices really blend.
I think we are born
same
in the same
tessitura.
family.
It's got the similar tessitura. We do.
Yeah. Tell me what Amy's grandchildren, the type of world they're going to live in, if you guys are successful.
We believe that we will be successful, and that the trend that is here now will continue, that we saw at both high schools. They don't see black friends, white friends, yellow friends, red friends. They see friends. Not that they're colorblind. They know ethnicity, and they see it, but they respect that, and it doesn't bother them. And I believe that that's the world that her grandchildren will experience.
They will.
You think your children will experience it?
I believe that I'm going to equip my children one day when I have an amazing husband and children, that they will know that race, to look at race is not an option because we're the human race, and that Jesus loved everyone, and they will be agents of change. I am 100% positive about that.
But it's going to take a spiritual revolution.
Yes.
Or what did you call it?
A restoration and revival.
Revival.
A transformation.
Transformation.
And that's what we're bringing now. That's what we're equipping people now with.
Some people say that we won't get that in this country until we have a disaster like no other. Something that makes 9/11 look like a Halloween party.
Those people don't know our God.
They really don't. And we are praying and we are seeing God's hand move in this nation.
Those people are part of the problem. Because instead of waiting for that to happen, like we need that to be okay to have a change, we hear initiatives on Facebook right now about pay it forward.
Yeah.
Why don't we just live it now? Instead of waiting for some random act of kindness that we're going to plan, why not when somebody steps in front of you, just excuse yourself and step out of the way. When somebody pulls in front of you on the road, we said this the other night, you could either say something or you could pray something. Why don't we start with that heart of forgiveness? And better yet, why don't we step back and try not to have the heart of offense?
Good point, Tamara Scott. I would agree with you. I'm scared for my grandchildren. You know, I'm scared that my buddy Luke, who's 14, he's got a preacher in him. He doesn't know it yet. Well, I guess I did tell him. I had a dream one night that I was laying there asleep, and I was listening to this incredible preacher because I love preachers. And I thought it sounded familiar, and I turned my head and looked the other way, and it was my grandson.
My goodness.
And he does love Jesus, and he goes to church regularly, and he has a relationship with him. He goes out to Salt Lake City, Utah every day or every year for a month and witnesses to the Mormons. But I just fear that he'll become a convict or a terrorist or a wanted by the law if he preaches the name of Jesus.
Perfect love casts out all fear. Take your love and your prayers and transform that fear and concern into truth and power. You can do that. Your love can help to change as you pray.
Well, that's what I hope for this country. You know, I don't want our government to be a certain religion. I agree with the way it was written 300 years ago or whenever that was. But as you said earlier, Tamara, it's not meant to have no God inside of our government.
Right.
That's just ridiculous.
Right.
And who thinks like that?
He's mentioned 4 times in our Declaration of Independence, all the way back to our Mayflower Compact. The very first document, as they stepped off the Mayflower, they wrote in the year of our Lord God, and it was about evangelizing. So we were not supposed to be an atheistic or secular country. And not just any religion, the one true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm old and gray, and I probably won't see it happen, but I'll watch it from above, and I can't wait for folks to come home and tell me how wonderful it was to go through that down here. That'd be a wonderful, wonderful place for America to end up in. Alveda King, thank you very much. God
Thank
bless you,
you so
young lady.
much.
Thanks for being here. Amy Griffin, I'm going to see you again, okay, girlfriend?
For sure.
All right. Tamara Scott, thank you for coming in.
You're
Your
welcome.
show tomorrow. And until we meet again, I have a favor to ask of you. There are people that you think of in your life that make you angry, and they make you mad, and they get that poison of resentment rolling through your veins. You know who I'm thinking about, and you know who I'm talking about, because I know who you're thinking about. Tonight, I want you to lay that hand at that name at the foot of the cross, and I want you to ask God to forgive them and ask God to forgive you and give you the power to pray. See you tomorrow.